guys, it's Holly here for PlayStation Access, and I'm with the lovely Peter Serafinowicz, and we're playing and talking Dark Souls 2. Now, I know for Dark Souls, that community is very passionate. And when you talk to communities about games, everyone seems to have a game that for them means so much to them. It's inspired them and it's given them something that other games haven't. Now, Dark Souls was like that for you, right?
Yeah, it is. And, you know, hearing you describe it like that, you know, makes the fans and therefore me sound quite spoddy, you know, and sort of nerdy, and I suppose, you know, we are in a way, you know, but it really is for a good reason, because well, you know, because I think it's the best game I've ever played. Dark Souls 1 is the best game I've ever played, and having played Dark Souls 2 now for a good little while, I reckon it's as good and possibly better than the first one. It's what Dark Souls fans want, which is it's like a true Dark Souls 2. It doesn't like reinvent the series, which is not what people want, which is not what the fans want. They want Dark Souls 2. They want so that's what it is. It's like it's the same game. It's tweaked slightly. There are different things. It's a whole different world. Some of the mechanics are slightly different. You know, like we can see at the bottom there, we got these this life gem. You start off with probably about, you know, you start off with a few of these life gems, and they're like sort of little mini Estus flasks that you squeeze and break, and you can do these on the run. You can kind of walk and do them, and I think when I first saw them, I thought, okay, is that going to make it a bit easier? But it actually doesn't, and they're quite scarce in the game as well. Anyway, look, I'm rambling on because
It's nice to hear people ramble, because when it does come to games, when you are passionate about something, it's nice to be able to have a chance to talk about that passion, and for you as well, work on it. And I love listening people talk about things they love, and this is what the industry for me has always been about.
Well, you know, it's funny, like doing, you know, I was just thinking about this earlier, and like doing publicity for this game is kind of weird, because like sometimes you're doing a junket and you go into sort of bullshit mode, you know, and you're just like, you know, you have like a series of like automatic responses to questions, and but with this I feel so honestly passionate about it. It's hard for me to be flippant about the game. It's hard for me to be, you know, to make jokes about it even. Not that I like revere it or anything. It's just that I love it so much, and really, like watching you play, all I want to do is just play the game, you know?
This is the first time I've played this area.
Oh, okay, all right.
I dabbled in the original Dark Souls. I was lucky enough to sort of care for the community at the time.
Right,
and
okay.
One of my favourite things to do was sort of just search for things on YouTube. People
Right.
theorising about the world, because it's one thing for me Dark Souls has always done beautifully. Just give you kind of just enough to kind of really make you think and feel about the world.
Yeah.
But you're still kind of required to do a lot of it yourself. Really, if you want it, it's there.
Yes, but it's like you're not having a story imposed on you. You don't have these endless cutscenes. These games are just like skip, don't care, skip. Yeah, got it. Okay, okay, you're talking, right? Fine. Let me play the game. Oh, here we go, another cutscene, right? But it's like, but with this, you don't really have that. You have these little dialogue. You have these little dialogue bits that are sort of very sort of spaced out, and you know, as you say, the beauty of it is you discover the story yourself, and in fact, you know, you create your own story for this game. There's a brilliant bit actually in this game where it's in the first level, so it's not really that much of a spoiler. It kind of is a bit of a spoiler, but there's a bit near a shore in the very first level, which is called Things Betwixt. There's a bit with a giant, you know, just a regular sort of giant Cyclops hippopotamus beast. And once you dispose of him or her, you see on the shore there's this sort of coffin on the shore. It's like a stone sarcophagus, really. That the lid's open, sort of inviting you to investigate. And you go over and examine it, and it says it says examine, and you press examine, and then you actually climb into this coffin and pull the lid over, you know, as you would if you saw a stone coffin lying on the shore. Yeah, that's the first thing I would do when
I saw a coffin.
And then, as you would expect, the coffin sails off across the lake, and then it fades to black, and then we could get a couple of item description screens, like it's loading, and then we have a little cinematic of the coffin sailing back to the shore, and then it opens, and then you get out. And I was like, am I in a different place? And it's like, no, there's the dude I killed before.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to work out what had happened until I played it without a helmet on, and then I realised that what it does is changes your sex. So it's like this weird sex change coffin that just changes your sex, you know? And I hadn't realised that because I had all this armour on, the only thing that sort of gives you away, really, is a kind of slight kind of wiggle.
I could see a soul, I could see a... All right, trial and error, that didn't work.
Anyway, that's one of the things I love about Dark Souls, is like, okay, we'll put a sex change coffin here.
Why not? Why not? Maybe you chose wrong and now you wish you hadn't.
And there's no advantage to playing as a man or a woman, as far as I can tell. Well, there certainly wasn't in Dark Souls, but you know, if you want to experiment and change your sex, you
why not? Get in the coffin. Get in the coffin. It
yeah.
makes a difference.
Yeah.
I love it. How did you get involved then? So you have a love for Dark Souls, but where did you then go, I need to do more. I somehow need to take my love of Dark Souls to another place, and I want to somehow be involved.
Well, I suppose I was so... I became, I would say, healthily obsessed with the game in a way that... Like, I would say an unhealthy obsession would be Candy Crush, you know? That's something, you do it and you know it's bad. You know, there are lots of things in life that people do, and they just keep on doing them, and they're like, this is wrong, you know? But with Dark Souls, it just feels very right, you know? And I thought I'd love to be, I just love to be involved with it somehow. And I got in touch with Namco, and I said, can you please send me a Dark Souls poster? and they did, and then, you know, I framed it and put it on my office wall, and then I said to them, you know, actually, by the way, I'm an actor, you know, and I love video games, and I love Dark Souls in particular, and, you know, perhaps I could voice one of the characters in the game, and you know, it kind of just over the next sort of few months, that's sort of what happened with me kind of pestering them, really, you know, and of course I didn't want to ruin the game for either myself or for other players. I didn't want to suddenly, you know, voice a character that people say, oh my God, that's the worst character in the game. It's so awful. It sounds so unrealistic. It sounds like Brian Butterfield, you know. It's like, you know, so I was very aware that I had to, you know, because Dark Souls got a very definite mood of sort of mysterious melancholy, you know, and I was careful not to sort of, you know, to try and fit into that and not to disturb it, you know, but also I didn't want to ruin it for myself, because I thought I didn't want to spoil the game for myself. I didn't want to know lots of things about the game, so I ended up voicing a character, and who's whose intentions are ambiguous to the player. And when you voice a character, there are lots of different responses that a character can have depending on what situation you're in. And I just didn't. I asked them at the time. I said, please don't tell me the true nature of this character. I want it to be a surprise, because he's quite sort of tricksy. But he's either double bluffing you or triple bluffing you, or possibly quintuple bluffing you. So I still don't know what his true intentions are. Oh, there's a thing as well when you die repeatedly. There's a thing in Dark Souls where you become hollow, which is like the sort of undead version of yourself. And you just had a sort of generic kind of zombified face. But now, each time you die, you get progressively more rotten, I suppose.
Horrific looking.
And you die a couple more times, and her hair will start to fall out, and her teeth, and she just ends up looking like a skeleton with bits of flesh sellotaped on. It's pretty disgusting, but quite realistic. And there's something, there is a bit of a sense of humour about it as well. Your posture kind of changes as well as you die more repeatedly. You're kind of more sort of hunched over and weary looking. And there are improvements, and they are actual improvements. They're not they're not like checkpoints or big tutorials or anything like that. It's the same thing, but just more and better. But more importantly, it's just more of the Dark Souls that people love. I dream about this game. I think about it to get me to sleep. I think about being in the world, and there's something, although it's a sort of hellish, it's this hellish sort of nightmare and very desolate world. There's something I find very comforting about it.
Right, well, I am going to leave it there, I'm afraid. Otherwise, we will actually be here all day.
Yeah,
Not that we have a complaint, but...
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
No, thank you so much, Sam. It is, as someone who loves gaming as much as I do, it is always lovely to speak to someone who shares a passion for it as well, and a passion that shines through as well. It means the industry can grow and develop, and the people that can go out and help sort of spread that word of just what it has to offer.
Yeah, yes.
In Dark Souls.
Yeah.
In death, constant death.
In constant death. Yeah. There's a sort of syndrome of people, like on forums, of people saying, I finished Dark Souls and now I can't play any other game because Dark Souls has ruined me because it's so brilliant. No other game can compare, and it's a common complaint. And on the Dark Souls forum, you see a post like that every month.
Yep.
A new person, and people say, "Yeah, I'm sorry, but there really isn't anything until Dark Souls 2 comes out." Yeah, I don't know how much more I can. I can rhapsodize about it.
No, that we will leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
it's
you're
been
welcome.
amazing.
You're welcome.
I know you're a very busy man. And you guys, thank you so much for watching. And you can stay tuned to the channel because we're going to have loads more on Dark Souls 2 coming up.